On today's episode of the Locked On Knicks podcast, Tom Thibodeau has finally unlocked the real Mikal Bridges.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Gavin, Schall, the Saturday co-host of the Locked On NBA podcast, a longtime credentialed media member, and of course, your favorite play-by-play broadcaster's favorite play-by-play broadcaster. In case you didn't know, you are listening to the Locked On Knicks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, your daily podcast on the New York Knicks, giving you the most detailed insight on your favorite team 5 whole days a week, sometimes more than that. And be sure to join thousands of other Knicks fans in subscribing on both YouTube and your favorite podcast platform for the best insight on your favorite team every single day. I want to remind you that today's episode is brought to you by our good friends over at Prize Picks. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 off instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. And we also want to remind you, your favorite podcast now has a newsletter. That's right, introducing the Locked On Knicks daily newsletter, your one-stop shop for your ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. You can sign for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com, and to start your day with the all-new free Locked On Knicks newsletter to get ready from Alex and I, our team of national writers here at Locked On, and of course, Josh Lloyd giving you the tips and tricks you need to win your fantasy basketball championship. I know the playoffs are going on right now, so good time to check that out. But on today's show, the Knicks dominate the Miami Heat. Final score 116-95. It was not that close. Knicks were up by nearly 30 early in the fourth quarter. We're able to sit everyone with 4 minutes left, which, for a normal coach, that's like sitting guys at halftime. That is a sign of a completely dominant victory. And Tom Thibodeau looks at the clock 4 minutes ago and says, yeah, I'll put in some guys. That was great. Finally letting Mikal Bridges cook. That's been an ongoing thing, but I thought tonight was another step in the right direction. Karl Anthony Towns changing the game with a personal 15-0 run. We'll break down how that happened in the second quarter. The double bigs working well, a Josh Hart bounce back game. So a whole lot to talk about. I'm going to start here, though. This was just a really fun game of Knicks basketball. I didn't get stressed at the beginning because I was watching on delay, so I knew the Knicks came back and took a big lead. But I don't know, maybe I was just feeling a little nostalgic. I'm back in New York for a week. I was watching at home, but it was sort of a full circle moment for me because on the couch in my mom's apartment, I've just watched so many bad Knicks teams and so many bad Knicks games. And it was Damian Dotson and Kevin Knox and Emmanuel Mudiay and Ennis Cantor, Ennis Freedom now. It was all those guys. And you know what? Shout out to them to various degrees. Even DeAndre Jordan, who was washed 7 years ago and is somehow still in the NBA. Shout out to him. And I was just thinking, on a night where the Knicks don't have their all NBA point guard, a guy who finished top 5 in the league race for MVP a year ago. They play the Miami Heat, who of course are not the Miami Heat of 2 years ago, even of a year ago, even of early this season with Jimmy Butler, but a team that just always gives the Knicks trouble, right? Even if the Knicks win against the Heat these last few years, you almost felt like you got away with something, right? Like you were stealing a game from them. And to watch the Knicks without Jalen Brunson, just after a really slow start, just thoroughly take this team apart and in a really fun way. I think part of it was having Mitchell Robinson back in the Garden, have a game where he had multiple blocks and 3 dunks and was flying out on shooters. Maybe that was part of what brought it full circle for me, but I just had a blast watching this game. It was so much fun. And a lot of that is that we are finally seeing the real Mikal Bridges. When they made the trade and they gave up all those picks, and I went on Locked On Knicks and said, you know what? It is a lot. It is the full war chest. The Knicks have lost their flexibility here. But here is the ceiling of that move. Between him and OG Anunoby, you have 2 guys now who essentially do not have an obvious weakness on the basketball court, short of just not being true stars, right? And maybe Mikal, like certain matchups defensively get him in some trouble. He's not as special on that end of the floor as I anticipated he could be. Maybe he can still get there. There's more time playing with Mitchell Robinson will certainly help him. And maybe for OG, just the on-ball stuff is never yet to a point where that wouldn't be considered a flaw for him. But my premise was like two-way wings that everyone in the league wanted, right? Multiple teams gave OG Anunoby max offers. Multiple teams offered something like 4 first-round picks to Brooklyn for Mikal Bridges. And it wasn't just that. It was also like a secondary. That was before the Towns trade. I was like, this is just another guy between Brunson and Randall, and it ended up being Brunson and Cat. You can give the ball to, and he can initiate offense, and he can create, and he can make great decisions with the basketball after drawing two to the ball, or at least drawing a stunt to the ball. And we did not really see that Mikal Bridges, with the exception of that Spurs game on Christmas, maybe a couple other nights. But even the nights he had big scoring games, a lot of it was off the ball. A lot of it was in transition, right? Cuts, spot up shooting. It was not Mikal Bridges as an on-ball initiator, which again, we saw in Brooklyn, he could do credibly. And I thought would look a lot better doing it in an ecosystem where he has Brunson to play off of, and he has Towns to play off of, and he has OG spacing, and he has Josh Hart setting him up, right? I thought all that was going to lead to an even more efficient version of the guy we saw become, I would say conservatively, a top 40 player in the league in Brooklyn. Some people during that first stretch maybe would have even had him higher than that, but like top 40 to 50, I think is where most people would have had him. And we didn't see that guy all year because I put up, if people missed it, like the usage graphic that our guy Prez tweeted out multiple times in the last 2 weeks. Like he was just not being used on the ball. And in this game, that completely flipped. Like Tom Thibodeau, well, not in this game, in this whole stretch since Jalen Brunson got hurt, Tom Thibodeau has been put into a corner and forced to use Mikal Bridges the right way. But you know what? At least it's finally happening. So I'll break down his night. First play of the game for him, or excuse me, the first play where the Knicks scored. The Knicks didn't score the first 4 minutes of this one. What are they going on? Was it 12 to nothing? I wrote it down here. They went down in this game. They went down 12 to nothing as they missed their first 5 shots and had 2 turnovers. Was not a good start for the Knicks, but then they get their first bucket. Mikal sees a gap between 2 defenders. Early season, like he wouldn't have cared. He said, all right, I'm not ready to attack that. He was ready tonight. Sees a gap between 2 defenders, drives it, sprays it out to Josh Hart. He drives. Mikal Bridges relocates to the left wing and drains the 3, right? To me, that is the magic of Mikal Bridges in one play. Like on-ball oomph and on-ball aggressiveness, and then that Steph Curry ability to get off the ball, run around, get the ball back, hit a shot. And then the ability to generate openings for others, right? Mikal dribble handoff with Cat, again, getting the ball in the move. Good things happen when you get Mikal Bridges the ball with momentum. Dribble handoff from Cat, draws a stunt to the nail from Haywood Highsmith, swings it to Deuce. Deuce forces a tough closeout from Highsmith trying to recover, blow by, layup for Deuce. And then later in the first quarter, Hart has a knockaway. Mikal runs up the court, cross-court hit ahead to Deuce, and then Mikal, again, just doesn't stop moving. Like swings it to Deuce, sprints over to him, dribble handoff, bangs a wing 3, right? Like this is like Mikal, maybe because you just played him, like he's taking some inspiration. Like this is him doing like a big Steph Curry impersonation. No, obviously not in the same universe as a shooter, but he can play like that a little bit. Let's move on. Late first quarter. Screen from Mitchell Robinson. Puts Haywood Highsmith in shadow to Emmanuel quickly into booty jail, lets Highsmith recover, then rises up and just hits a jumper in his eye. Doesn't score the entire second quarter. Third quarter, Heat were up by 2 going into halftime, or going into the third quarter. Personal 9-0 run for Mikal Bridges early in the third quarter in under 2 minutes. It's a short fadeaway over Tyler Hero, has a steal, has this like nasty, like swooping, like up and under layup on Duncan Robinson. And then I'll mention this again because they did it with Josh Hart as well, but I think the Knicks might have found something here. They had Mikal Bridges screen for Karl Anthony Towns and then just slip the screen. And what that does is it has Mikal or Hart going towards the rim with no rim protector to the basket because Bam is pulled all the way on the arc, pressed up on Cat, and it's a great way to leverage Cat shooting. And I don't think the Knicks have leveraged Cat shooting on the ball enough, right? They leverage it off the ball quite often, but on the ball, they haven't leveraged it that much. Mikal slips, Cat hits him over the top, no rim protector. Mikal lays it up, soft dunk, whatever you want to call it. gets it to go. Then knocks the ball out of bounds. Cat, really smart play. Jokic-esque, quick inbounds, just chucks it up the court to Mikal. Mikal hits a wing three. Late in the game, off a dribble handoff from Josh Hart, drives Davion Mitchell, fading banker on the run. That was really nice. Last play, pick and roll with Mitchell Robinson. No look, zips a pass into the corner to Landry Shamet to set him up for three. And to me, this sums up everything you want to see from Mikal, right? On ball, passing, creating for others, scoring himself, off ball, cutting for layups, passing and then getting it back for threes. Like it was just a complete offensive performance for him. Really, really impressive showing from Mikal Bridges. And here's the thing. Going forward, I say this every episode, but we have different listeners. We have new listeners every episode. So I'm gonna drive this home with a really fine point. Is he gonna have as much time on the ball with Jalen Brunson's back? No. Should it be 20% as much time on the ball, which is what I would loosely estimate? Maybe that's not fair. Let's call it 40% as much time on the ball when Jalen Brunson's back. If that's what he's had all season. Absolutely not. It should be about 85 to 90% of his current output on the ball. And if that means Jalen Brunson has the ball a little bit less, I think that is fantastic for Jalen Brunson. I think that is going to preserve Jalen Brunson. Might he have to ramp it up in certain moments in the fourth quarter in the playoffs? Sure, that's fine. But the reason you get Mikal Bridges is to not put all those miles on Brunson in the regular season. That's unavoidable at this point, right? It already happened. Brunson, the only upshot of this injury, well, outside of the fact that it empowers someone like Mikal Bridges, is that he gets a few weeks off. So hopefully that helps him a little. But when he comes back, last 8 games of the regular season, let's keep using Mikal this way. In the first 2 rounds of the playoffs, let's keep using Mikal this way and give Jalen Brunson a break so he can come into the fourth quarter. And yes, he dominates fourth quarters anyways, but let's keep the guy fresh. Let's preserve our superstar who we just gave $200 million to, who we probably should have given $400 million to, but the guy took a giant discount. Let's keep him fresh. Let's keep him going. All right, next on Locked On Knicks, a Josh Hart bounce back game, a Karl Anthony Towns second quarter rampage, and the double big lineups working for the New York Knicks. We get into it all in just a sec here on Locked On Knicks. But first, we want to tell you about our friends over at Hungryroot. Guys, this is an all-time meal service. When it comes to grocery shopping and meal planning, I've had this ongoing problem. I just don't have the time between work, life, doing a podcast, and trying to eat healthier. I'm constantly feeling stressed out. And I'd go to the grocery store, buy things I didn't need, and just end up with no time to actually cook them. And sticking to my health goals, man, forget about it. But everything changed when I discovered Hungryroot. Honestly, it's been a game changer. It's the easiest way to eat healthy without all the stress. With Hungryroot, it's like having a personal shopper and nutritionist all in one. They take care of my grocery shopping, recommending meals and groceries based on my tastes and health goals, from anti-inflammatory to high protein and gluten-free options. And the best part, every meal's ready in 15 minutes or less. I'm talking quick, healthy meals that actually taste great, all delivered straight to my door. It's been a huge time saver and has made healthy eating so much simpler. So you're going to love Hungryroot as much as I do. For a limited time, you can get 40% off your first box and a free item in every box for life. Just go to hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA and use code LockedOnNBA. It's hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA, code LockedOnNBA to get 40% off your first box and a free item of choice for life. hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA, code LockedOnNBA. Don't miss out. And then we want to tell you about our good friends over at Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's so easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all the accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you just stop managing your money and you start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized how much I was spending on food delivery. Now I budget smarter and save more. They also offer all-in-one convenience. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can just use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. With easy collaboration, managing money with your partners is smoother than ever. You can track your personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. All right, we're back here on Locked On NBA, and we wanted to get into Karl Anthony Towns a little bit, as I appear to be frozen. Now I'm not. That's good. Okay, we're going to get into Karl Anthony Towns a little bit. He changed the tenor of this game. I mentioned it. The Heat go up 12-0. The Knicks get it to 14-10 with a 10-2 spurt. Miami from there, they extend their lead to 31-18. I think it was like higher than that a little bit earlier in the first quarter. No, it was 27-14. Then it was 31-18. And then from there, Karl Anthony Towns goes on a personal 15-0 run. Absolutely just torching the Miami Heat. And getting it done in a pretty varied fashion. Let me start it off. Where did the run start? I'm going through my notes right now. Had the bully ball flip on Bam to start the game. Really fun play where he had Payne screen for him and he rejected it and he goes right at Davion Mitchell downhill for a layup. Then Hart sets an off-ball screen on Khalil Ware, so Cat could just duck in and bully Duncan Robinson for a one-handed jam. And then it was a lot more Josh Hart, like setting him up, like Hart rebound, Hart push, Cat trail 3. At that point, it was a 7-0 run to cut the lead to 6. Then Hart runs down a long rebound, again a hit ahead to Cat for a one-handed dunk, 9-0 run at that point. 3 off of Payne slinging back to him, 12-0 run, lead down to 1, Garden going crazy, Garden ready to just like erupt, and then Hart again flips it back to him. Khalil Ware does exactly what Cat, maybe this is a basketball card, but exactly what Cat did against Steph Curry when Steph Curry was hitting the deep threes and Cat was just inexplicably, all right, I better be in drop right now, and I better start sinking back towards the rim. So Hart slings it back. Cat's about 28 feet from the rim, and Ware just starts going backwards. I don't know what he was thinking, and Cat just bombs with a deep 3. That was the last time Eric Spoelstra put Khalil Ware on Karl Anthony Towns the rest of the night. 15-0 Knicks run. That was pretty much not the ball game, but the Knicks weren't trailing the rest of the game, and they did trail going into halftime, but that pretty much put the Knicks in control of this game is the way I'll phrase it. And then I also want to note, as we transition into Mr. Robinson here, just a really encouraging night for the double big lineups, which we got about halfway through the fourth quarter. And Doris Burke noted this, Tom Thibodeau going to it in a blowout because for whatever reason, he's comfortable playing Precious Achiuwa and Josh Hart with Mitchell Robinson or with Karl Anthony Towns, but he needs a sample size, I guess, to play Cat and Mitch, even though I mentioned yesterday the early returns have been really fantastic on Cat and Mitch together. But anyways, give him credit, took the time to try it out. And there was one play that really stood out to me. Shaq's posted it on Twitter and was talking about it. If you want to go to his Twitter and see his breakdown of it. But essentially, Karl Anthony Towns is posting up on the right block. And I think I'm trying to remember who was guarding him. It might have been Jaime Jaquez. It doesn't really matter. Anyway, like basically has a wing stuck on. It was Kyle Anderson, I think. Has Kyle Anderson stuck on him. And Cat is posting. And typically what we've seen a lot of late, Cat will get that post-up opportunity, and another team says, hey, we don't really trust you to pass out of that, so we are going to double off of Precious Achiuwa. We also Precious Achiuwa standing in the corner, 0 threat. So we're going to hard double, and you're just going to waste 8 seconds off the clock. You might turn it over. If you don't turn it over, you're going to throw a grenade out to someone, and they're going to have to take a tough shot. Even if it's Josh Hart in that corner, they'll double off of him, right? But you, in this case, you have Mitchell Robinson on the opposite block. And what that does is even though everything is condensed and it's not quote unquote ideal spacing, right? Like in a perfect world, you have 4 great shooters around Cat and there's no one near him and he's can just back someone down like it's an open gym. Because the Knicks are not getting to those lineups too often because they're not just starting Deuce McBride over Josh Hart. And then you would get those post-up opportunities for Cat a lot. But I digress. In a world where that's not possible in Tom Thibodeau's mind, this is the next best thing where you have Mitchell Robinson the opposite block. And that keeps Bam at home because if Bam leaves, Cat is going to sling it over the top and Mitch is going to get a dunk. Or even if Cat just like forces up a shot, there's no one there that's capable of boxing out Mitchell Robinson. And Mitch is probably, if he doesn't rush it, is going to get a putback. Bam recognizes that. Bam stays home. Cat just gets an easy jump hook. And that offensively is the magic of that group. They also rebounded exceptionally well. And the defense was really good because of Mitchell Robinson, who looked more like himself than he did against the Golden State Warriors in this one. The first play he had of the game was one of my favorite plays from him all season. Gets a rebound over Jaime Jaquez. And so many times, like when he came back from injury last season, if I'm remembering correctly, even early in the season, we've seen Mitch get kind of passive in those situations, right? Almost like nervous to shoot the basketball. He's nervous to get fouled at times, and he would just kick it out. Instead, he's patient, but he also went fast, right? Rebound over Jaquez, turns into a post-up, one dribble pivot towards the rim, and he's just way too long, way too big for Jaquez, and lays it in. And I think that's what we forget about Mitch, right? On top of the athleticism, like he is just enormous, like a real 7-footer with a plus wingspan. Like he is, and he's fluid around the rim, right? No, he doesn't have fantastic touch, but he's fluid around the basket. And then the defense really showed up. Like he induced a Bam air ball on a 3. And then the same thing kind of happened that's been happening, or at least it happened in the Golden State game where he just gets gassed, right? Had a fake triple handoff right at Karl where he missed it, but he was in perfect position to just tip it back in. And that's why I like Mitch shooting, right? So often he's able to clean up his own stuff around the basket, but he airballed the putback and he just looked exhausted, only playing 2 minutes. Like another example of that was him like running a pick and roll with Campaign, like kind of half-heartedly rolling to the rim. Payne was anticipating a hard roll and just chucked it away. That's a little bit on both of them. And part of it is like they barely played together. They barely run pick and roll together. They just might need a little bit more time. But it was also, I thought, an example of Mitch still needing to get his feet under him, still needing to get conditioned. But then like second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, like I thought the defense really flashed for Mitchell Robinson. By the way, I should catch you up on the box scores for everyone. I just talked through everyone without telling you any of the stats. Mikal was 28 points, 10 for 14, 4 for 6 from 3, 4 for 4 from the line. Absurdly efficient night. Towns, same thing, 31 minutes, 23, 7 and 3, 10 and 17, 3 for 5 from 3. And then Mitch coming off the bench, 10 points, 9 rebounds, 2 steals, 2 blocks in just 24 minutes, 5 offensive rebounds after I think he only had 1, maybe 2 against the Warriors. Like this was the first like truly welcome back Mitch game. 24 minutes. I'm going to check the game logs to be sure, but I believe that is the most he's played. Yeah, this is the first time he's gone even over 20 minutes. He went 19 in that overtime game against the Blazers. Outside of that, hadn't played more than 16 minutes. 19 minutes, 24 minutes in this one. 10 points, 9 rebounds, 2 blocks, 2 steals. The defense, even more so than the offense, like really, really stood out. Just quick hands. Like Jaquez tried to leave it for Bam at one point, and Mitch got in there, knocked it away, like looking like OG Anunoby. That one led to a precious jam. Then in the third quarter, like really nice job, like anchoring, like caught a lob from Josh Hart. Started like Doris Burke did a good job pointing this out, was like really flying out his closeouts, like charging out on Karl Ware. Forced Davion Mitchell at one point to pick up his rebound near the rim and then or pick up his dribble near the rim, excuse me. And then he kicked it out. Duncan Robinson pump fakes Landry Shamet out of his shoes. And Mitch closes from the block out to the perimeter on Duncan Robinson, forces a miss. And that is just vintage Mitchell Robinson, right? The ability to X out, block to corner, and just cover ground quickly and make life hell on a shooter, right? You see like a 7-foot guy like who can really jump flying at you. Even a shooter as good as Duncan Robinson, that's going to get in his head a little bit. And then had another really nice tracking defensive play where he was watching man and ball, anticipating that Karl Ware was going to try to slip behind him and just really quickly jutting his hand out there, knocking the ball away from the steal. Like his hands have been maybe my favorite part of his game. Like, I don't know if he's picking up stuff from Cat, who's obviously really good with his hands, but I don't know if I remember that from Mitch. Like I'm sure he's had high steal rates before, but it feels like his steal rate has just been crazy since coming back. All right. Third and final segment, still going to talk about Josh Hart. Tying the Knicks single season triple-double record, some great defense from OG Anunoby, and a whole lot more to wrap up this edition of the Locked On Knicks podcast. But first, we want to tell you about another one of our newest friends over here at Locked On Knicks, or actually an older friend, our good buddies over at Prize Picks. So guys, here is the magic of Prize Picks. When basketball season is heating up, there's no better way to get in on the action than with Prize Picks. The best place for daily fantasy sports. With Prize Picks, you just pick more or less on at least 2 player projections for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. It's easy to use, available in over 30 states, and lets you mix and match projections across different sports. This week, I'm selecting Mikal Bridges to score more than 22 points and Mitchell Robinson to have more than 6 rebounds. PrizePicks makes it so simple. You can set your lineup in less than 60 seconds and stay engaged with the game all night long. When you win, your money hits and your account in as little as 15 minutes. No waiting around. They also have Taco Tuesday deals where every Tuesday PrizePicks discounts select player projections of 25%, giving even more value to your lineup. Guess what? Today's Tuesday. Try it out. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the bracket breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
All right, guys, let's wrap up this 116-95 victory over the Miami Heat. Josh Hart, shout out to our guy, ties Clyde Frazier's single-season Knicks triple-double record. He had 8 of them. There was some stat. He didn't have 1 in his first 6 seasons, I think is what Ryan Ruocco said. Or maybe it was Kenny Albert. That was pretty wild. So shout out to Josh Hart. I thought just a much better job pushing pace. He had some comments pregame essentially saying like he doesn't really know. It was similar to what he was saying early season. What he was saying early last season, where he said he doesn't really know how he fits into the offense right now. And he doesn't feel like the Knicks are really running coherent stuff. Like a lot of times they've ran sets, but they haven't run them at full speed. And in the half court, like if Josh is not on the ball, like it's hard for him to figure out what to do, because with Jalen Brunson, like he has like a clear purpose, right? He's going to screen for Jalen. He's going to be the guy who plays out of those 4-on-3s and like functions as sort of a Draymond Green to Jalen Brunson's Steph Curry. He's going to cut off ball on Jalen drives. He's going to crash for rebounds, right? And without that heliocentricity and without a coach in Tom Thibodeau that puts together like a lot of quality organized offense, and you could say that's on him. You could say it's on the team for not committing to running it when he does call plays, which has been an issue. Josh is less of a role. And my response to that is like, you're Josh Hart. Like you create stuff out of thin air. And I thought last night, he did a great job doing that. Like he's much more aggressive, pushing pace, got Mikal an open corner 3 that helped get Mikal going. I mentioned he set up Cat for multiple threes during that 15-0 run. He set Cat up for a one-handed jam during that 15-0 run. I love him like pushing the Knicks to take advantage of mismatches against the Warriors. Mikal had Steph on him, and the Knicks were not taking enough advantage of that. And he said, hey, everyone clear the F out. I'm lobbing it in. Mikal, go to work. Mikal patiently went to work, scored on Steph. Last night, throws it into OG, tells everyone to clear out. OG bullies his way. Looks like Baby Shaq. I'll mention it again when we talk about him. Through 2 defenders, like one dribble, reverse spin, double pump off the glass. Easily the best shot of OG's night. But it starts because Josh Hart, instead of aimlessly dribbling the ball around, recognize the mismatch and like shows some on the court leadership. Like that is also one of the biggest fears when Brunson's out. Like who is going to put their foot down, right? Because that's not really Cat's personality. That's not really Mikal's personality. That's not really OG's personality. It's not totally Deuce's personality. I could see him doing it in the right moment, but I think he still feels like the young guy in this group. It is on Hart to say, this is something we have to take advantage of. And he did. So that was awesome. On defense, had one really nice play where he was kind of alone in transition, and Bam was cutting in for what was going to be a surefire dunk, and he just smacked it with one hand out of the air. If you're an Invincible fan, it was sort of like Conquest, just smacking Oliver into the ground. That's a niche reference that maybe 10 people listening to this podcast will get, but I hope you appreciate it. He just smacked it off the foot of Bam. Great hands. And then got into his offense, like had a personal 9-2 run when the Knicks really separated late in the third quarter. The Knicks ended the third quarter this game after Miami got it to 67-60. And then from there was a 21-4 run, 88-64 going into the fourth. And it was pretty much lights out on Miami from there. And that was through the work that Josh Hart put in. A banker over Davion Mitchell to beat the shot clock. I don't even know if he was trying to bank it, but it was a tough shot. The next play, just a confident one dribble 3 ball. Then a slip to Mikal running in transition for a layup, hitting Mitchell Robinson on the lob, and then capping it off. between the legs, snatch back three in Kelowna's eye. Like it is so funny because Josh Hart, when he's not confident, you would rather have anyone on the team, like maybe even Precious Achiuwa, shooting a three than Josh Hart when he's not confident, because he just aims it and it always ends up being short. And then when he's in rhythm, when he's feeling a little swaggy, when he could like kind of just like get into his handle and like dribble into the shot that he wants at his pace, it tends to go in. And I wish there was some way, like I don't know, get him some of Elon Musk ketamine, like a way to get him that confident every moment of every game. He would be a different guy as a shooter. But that's neither here nor there. Really, really great night for Josh Hart. No complaints about his performance, and the same could be said for both Deuce McBride and OG Anunoby. Let's talk Deuce first before we honor OG to wrap this one up. That play I mentioned earlier in the game where Kale had the DHO from Cat and then sprayed it over to Deuce. Like he like it was my favorite drive maybe he's had all season. Like pump fakes Highsmith, and like Highsmith does a great job recovering and catching up, and like but Deuce just had this great burst downhill. And then like it's called a slow step, right? Like you put all your momentum on one foot, you decel, takes the bump, finishes with the inside hand to avoid the shot blocker, right? Obviously, typically you're not trained to go inside hand, but what he did by like putting his shoulder into Highsmith, he forced Highsmith to his left, and then he finishes with the right hand on the inside. So he's essentially shielding the shot blocker, able to finish it. That was a really good play. Another one with Davion Mitchell, who's like pretty much built to shut down someone like Deuce McBride, right? A great defender who can sometimes get beat by taller guys, but him and Deuce basically the same height, and Deuce still absolutely cooked him, like to end the shot clock. Hard stop, rise up, Jay in his face. That was beautiful. And then just making hustle plays, right? Like doing the little things like racing to a loose rebound, batting it away from Haywood Highsmith. It ended up with Josh Hart getting a layup. Early third quarter, just another like late shot clock, nasty catch and shoot three where he rises up high, doesn't even touch the rim going through. It was just feathery. The dude is like an all caps shooter. And then I just wanted to note this because I saw this tweet from our buddy DJ Zulo over at Knicks Film School a little bit before starting the show. Towns, Hart, and McBride together this year. A plus 18.1 net rating over 505 minutes. Second best net rating in the NBA amongst three-man lineups with at least 500 minutes play. And that stat passes the sniff test to me. Not that like I wouldn't have thought the stat was true, but just that like I felt all year like really good things happen when you have Deuce and Cat on the floor together. And I think it's because they're the two best shooters on this team. And that's kind of the way modern basketball works. It's actually the way basketball's always worked. We just only figured it out in the last 20 years or so. But two shooters opens up the floor for Josh Hart to do stuff. And I just think the playmaking too defensively, like Deuce, like that batted ball is a good example of it. Like Deuce just making like random impromptu plays on the ball. Event creation is the term I'm looking for. Event creation plays on defense that get Josh Hart going in transition. Those guys make things happen. And it leads to these situations where Cat just gets red hot. Like when Cat starts going in transition, the basket looks a million feet wide to him. Like he's just shooting it into the ocean. And those three work really well together. I bet those three plus Mikal would look really good. The thesis there is that things go incredibly well when Deuce McBride is on the floor. And Tom Thibodeau, when Jalen Brunson comes back, should keep playing him for 30 plus minutes. All right. We're running a little long, so real quick on OG Anunoby. Dude, the guy gets up to play the Miami Heat. I don't know what it is, but he really elevates the defense to A+++ level. Like one of the first shots of the game, like he got a piece of Tyler Hero's three. I just have to imagine this point, Tyler Hero sees OG in his nightmares because like he tortures him. We'll get to another one of those plays in just a sec. I mentioned the post up that was dirty. Like at one point he was triple teamed and then like spinning, double pumping over a double. Like I would love for the Knicks to run like more screening actions to get OG switches off the ball, or even run a screen for him on the ball, have OG get off, then have OG post up. Like it works even better when Deuce is out there and you have the floor space, but OG posting up smaller guards is really efficient offense. So I hope they stick to that. But just some of these possessions, like do yourself a favor, especially in a game where the Knicks are up. Just like sit down on defense and only watch OG Anunoby. He had a play where he was guarding Bam Adebayo. Tyler Hero comes up on a curl to the elbow. Bam hits Hero. OG, like he was doing this all second half, stunts into the gap, essentially like soft doubles him, force him to give it up to Bam. Bam dribbles into a DHO to Duncan Robinson, who was just killing the Knicks early in this game on those dribble handoffs. OG switches on to Duncan, baits him into a throwaway out of bounds. Another one where he stunts into the gap on Hero, knocks the ball away. And this is another play DJ tweeted out. And like, it was a great point that he were running a gap beater off the ball and would have either had a layup or a corner three. So when you're playing gaps as aggressively as OG Anunoby was on this play, it's absolutely essential that you actually make the play, because if you miss when you go for the basketball, you're going to end up with, again, probably an open shot. But OG doesn't miss in these situations. He stunts in, knocks the ball away, gets on the floor, ties up Hero. Hero somehow wins the jump ball. And OG says, you know what? That's fine. I'm just going to clown you again. He absolutely smothers him going baseline. Hero picks up his dribble, pump fake, can't get OG off him, forced to shoot at the buzzer. OG casually with the left hand, barely jumps, swats that thing out of bounds, right? Get it out of here. That was sick. And then one more time, stunts into the gap off Duncan Robinson, strips, I can't pronounce his name, but from Arizona, it was like Pele Larson. And then Larson got it back, but just chucks it out of bounds. OG was just a menace. Like he is a human vacuum out there, just getting a hand on the basketball. And like, he has like that Kawhi Leonard reach in hand where he can be guarding one guy and he can just stick arm out, Mr. Fantastic style, and it just shoots in and finds a way to get a hand on the basketball. That's amazing. I was going to talk about Doris Burke, but we are running out of time, so I'll save it for another day. This was a great episode of Locked On Knicks. I really hope you enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun watching this game. I had a lot of fun talking about this game. Please subscribe. Please give us 5 stars on iTunes. Leave a review. We never get reviews. I love to hear what people think, good or bad. If you have a way you think the show could be even better, definitely let us know, but please give us 5 stars. But until next time, I'm Gavin Schall. We'll talk to you soon. Back with Alex Wolf tonight on Locked On Knicks.